When I refused to lend my husband's brother $20,000, he gathered the family and announced, "She's turning her back on us." My husband looked at me and said, "Maybe you should just help." Instead, I helped myself to something they never expected. The next day, they opened their mail and started crying. My husband, Jake, comes from a family that is way too involved in each other's lives. Every holiday, every weekend, every random Tuesday night, somebody is calling or showing up with some kind of drama. But for the most part, I kept my distance. The real problem was his brother, Mark. Mark is in his 40s. No stable career. No savings. Bad credit. Bounced from job to job because people don't respect hard work anymore. Lived in crappy apartments or with friends because rent is too high. Always had some big idea that was just about to work but somehow never did. Over the years, Mark had borrowed money from almost everyone in the family. $5,000 from their mom to invest in equipment, never repaid. $3,000 from their dad for a security deposit, gone. $7,000 from their sister, Laura, to start a business, never even started. And now? Now it was our turn. One night, Mark called Jake while we were watching TV. I could hear his voice immediately because he was loud and frantic. Jake put the call on speaker. "Mark, bro, I need help. Big help." "Jake, what's going on?" "Mark, I got this business opportunity, man. A real shot. I just need 20 grand to lock it in." I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. I wasn't even trying to be mean. It was just so ridiculous. Mark had never run a successful business in his entire life. He could barely hold a job. Now he suddenly had a $20,000 opportunity? No, absolutely not. I expected Jake to laugh too. Or at least tell Mark we don't have that kind of money to give. Instead, my husband looked at me and said, "Maybe we should just help." What? I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. Me, are you serious? Jake. It's just money. We can afford it. Me, we can afford it because I work my ass off. You really want to throw 20 grand into a black hole. Jake, it's not a black hole, it's family. We help each other. I shut that down immediately. Me, absolutely not. End of discussion. Mark heard everything. He didn't like my answer. Mark, wow. So that's how it is, huh? You're turning your back on family. Then he hung up. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. That weekend, Jake's mom invited us to dinner. She made it sound casual. Just a normal family meal. I should have known better. The second we walked in, I knew something was off. Mark was already there, sitting at the dining table, arms crossed like a kid in trouble. Their mom was standing near the stove, but she wasn't cooking. Just watching. Laura was leaning against the counter, scrolling on her phone like she was bored. Jake's dad was missing, which was weird. Usually, he'd be the first one cracking a beer. Something wasn't right. We sat down. Nobody touched the food. Then, Jake's mom sighed loudly and said, "Sweetheart, Mark told us what happened." Oh, here we go. I just can't believe you'd turn your back on family like that. Mark, I wasn't even asking for a handout. Just a loan. Laura, it's not like you'd even notice 20 grand missing. What's a little help between family? Then Jake, my own husband, turned to me and said, "Maybe you should just help." I don't remember exactly what I felt in that moment. But I know it wasn't anger. It was clarity. Jake had set me up. He had let me walk in blind to this. He had given them the impression that I was the problem. That I was the one blocking them from getting the money. And they all sat there, expecting me to fold. Fine. You want me to help? I'll help. The next morning, while Jake was at work, I went to the bank. I pulled everything. Mortgage statements? All in my name. Car payments? Me. Utilities? Mostly me. Savings? My account. Jake had barely contributed anything. Then I called my lawyer. Yes, I got a lawyer. And I told her everything. She asked me a simple question. Do you know where Jake's money goes? I thought I did. I was wrong. After some digging, I found out something very interesting. Jake had been giving money to Mark for years. Not huge amounts at once, but little by little. $500 here. $1,000 there. Over $25,000 total. Money from our joint account. Money that was supposed to go toward our future. Money I had been saving while Jake was secretly funding Mark's lifestyle of failure. That's when I made a decision. I wasn't just going to say no. I was going to make sure they all understood why. The next day, I sent out letters. One to Mark with a full itemized breakdown of everything Jake had given him over the years and a legal notice that I would be seeking reimbursement for the funds taken from our joint account. One to Laura, detailing how much Jake and I had already given Mark and suggesting she ask him for the $5,000 he forgot to pay back. One to Jake's mom, listing every loan Mark had taken from the entire family and pointing out that if she wanted to be mad at someone, she should be mad at the person who never pays anyone back. One to Jake, served at his workplace, letting him know I was filing for divorce. That's where I'll stop for now. But let's just say, the reaction was priceless. Jake didn't come home that night. I wasn't surprised. What did surprise me was who showed up instead. At around 8 p.m., I heard a loud knock on my door. Not a normal knock. An angry, impatient knock. I checked the peephole. It was Jake's mom. I almost didn't open the door, but then I saw Laura standing behind her, arms crossed, face red. Oh, this was going to be good. I opened the door just a crack. Me, can I help you? Jake's mom, what the hell is wrong with you? Laura stepped forward, shoving an envelope toward me. It was the letter I sent her. Laura, what is this? What kind of game are you playing? I smiled. No game. Just facts. Laura's hands shook as she waved the papers at me. Laura, you sent me a breakdown of how much Jake gave Mark. Like that's supposed to mean anything? That's his brother. I shrugged. That's your money too. You're never seeing that $5,000 again. Laura flinched. Like she'd never actually considered that before. Jake's mom wasn't having it. Jake's mom, you've ruined this family. Do you know what you've done to Jake? That made me pause. Me, what I've done to Jake? She nodded, fuming. Jake's mom, he lost his job today. That one got me. What? Jake worked at a mid-sized financial firm. He wasn't a big shot, but he had a stable position. Decent salary. So how the hell did he get fired in one day? I didn't even have to ask. Laura was already explaining. Laura, the letter you sent? The one you had served to his office. Oh, that. Laura, it was humiliating. People saw it. His boss found out he was being sued by his own wife. I hadn't actually sued him yet. I was just filing for divorce. But I guess the word legal notice was enough to set off alarms at his job. Apparently, they called him in, asked him about his financial situation, and then pulled his recent transactions. And guess what? They found out he'd been using our joint account for personal spending, including gambling apps. I didn't even know about that part. Jake had a gambling problem. And now? He had no job. The next morning, Jake finally came home. I expected anger, rage, screaming. But instead, he walked in quietly, tired, beaten down. He sat at the table, put his hands in his hair, and just sat there. I waited. After a long silence, he finally spoke. Jake, I messed up. No excuses. No blaming me. Just 3 words. Good. Because I wasn't in the mood for bullshit. I leaned against the counter and crossed my arms. Me, you stole from me. He nodded. Me, you lied. Over and over. Another nod. Me, and now you want me to what? Forgive you. He looked up at me. Jake, no. I don't know what to do. Before I could respond, Jake's phone rang. I could see the name on the screen. Mark. Jake hesitated. I grabbed the phone and hit answer. Mark didn't even wait. Mark, bro, listen. You have to help me. I put the call on speaker. Jake and I both listened as Mark ranted. He was being evicted. He had no money left. Laura had threatened to take him to small claims court for the $5,000. Their mom had finally cut him off. And then he said this. Mark, you need to ask her to give you another chance, man. Get back in her good graces. If you can stay in the house, I can crash there for a bit. I laughed. Out loud. Right into the phone. Jake looked sick. Mark, wait. Is she listening? Me, oh yeah. Silence. Then, Mark hung up. Jake stared at the phone. Then he looked at me. Jake, he was using me. I sighed. Me, you're just figuring that out? He leaned forward, resting his forehead on the table. He looked defeated. Jake, I lost everything. I thought about what I wanted to say. The things I could say. But instead, I just said, me, not my problem. Because it wasn't. I still hadn't made a final decision on what I was going to do with Jake. Divorce? Probably. But I had time. And I was curious to see just how far this would go. Because Mark wasn't done yet. And neither was I. Jake sat at the table, staring at his hands. He looked lost, like a man who finally realized his entire world was crumbling and that it was his fault. I should have felt satisfaction. Instead, all I felt was tired. Jake wasn't some evil mastermind. He was just weak. Too weak to stand up to his family. Too weak to tell the truth. Too weak to realize that the people he thought he was helping were just using him. And now? The final reckoning was coming. Because Mark wasn't done yet. Jake left that night. He said he needed time to figure things out. I let him go. The house was mine anyway. I locked the doors, turned off the lights, and went to bed. Then, at 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of my doorbell ringing. Not once. Not twice. Over and over. I grabbed my phone and checked the front camera. And there he was. Mark. Standing on my porch. Drunk. Disheveled. And behind him? A moving truck. My stomach dropped. I didn't open the door. I turned on the speaker system instead. Me. Why are you here? Mark grinned at the camera. Actually grinned. Mark, look, I know things got heated. But let's be real, you don't want a divorce. Oh, he was delusional. Me? What the hell are you talking about? Mark gestured to the moving truck. Mark, since you and Jake are done, I figured I'd move in. I mean, technically, this house was bought with his money too, right? So I've got just as much right to be here as he does. I stared at the screen, stunned. This man, this grown-ass man, actually thought he could just move in? I almost laughed. Me, get off my property. Mark leaned in closer to the camera. Mark, I know my rights. Oh, that was funny. I didn't even argue. I just picked up my phone and called the police. Mark was still ranting when the red and blue lights flooded my driveway. I walked outside, arms crossed, as the cop stepped onto the porch. Cop, sir, are you the homeowner? Mark snorted. Mark, no, but my brother is. And since he lived here, I have a right to stay. The cop looked at me. Me, my name is on the deed. Jake's name is not. The cop nodded. Then he turned to Mark. Cop, sir, you need to leave. Mark laughed. Then he pulled out his phone. Mark, I'll just call Jake. He'll back me up. That's when I pulled out my own stack of papers and handed them to the officer. Me, these are the documents showing Jake has no legal claim to this house. This is also my restraining order filed earlier today against Mark. Mark froze. Cop. Sir, you are now trespassing. Mark went ballistic. He yelled. He called me a vindictive bitch. He accused me of ruining his life. He even threw his phone at the ground and shattered it. The cops? Completely unimpressed. Mark ended up handcuffed for public intoxication and trespassing. And the moving truck? It drove away. Without him. The next morning, Jake called. His voice was shaky. Jake, what did you do? I rolled my eyes. Me, your brother showed up to my house in the middle of the night with a moving truck. What do you think I did? Jake was silent. Then he said the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Jake, you should have just let him stay for a while. I laughed. Out loud. Me, you think I should have let your drunk, unemployed brother just move into my house? Jake sighed. Jake, he has nowhere to go. Not my problem. Me, not my problem. Jake, you don't have to be so cold. Oh, now I was cold? Me, get your life together, Jake. And don't ever call me again. Then I hung up. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Because 2 days later, I got a call from my bank. Someone had tried to access my account. And guess whose name came up? Mark. This wasn't over. Not yet. After Mark's failed midnight takeover attempt, I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a call from my bank. Bank rep, ma'am, we noticed some unusual activity on your account. Someone attempted to transfer $10,000 out this morning. I froze. That account was secure. The only person who had access, besides me, was Jake. I took a slow breath. Me, who tried to access it? Bank rep, a man named Mark. He claimed to be your financial power of attorney and tried to authorize a withdrawal. I felt my entire body go cold. Mark was desperate. He had officially moved from leeching to fraud. And Jake? Jake had given him my banking information. That was it. This was war. I drove straight to Jake's parents' house. When I pulled up, all of them were outside. Jake, sitting on the porch, head in his hands. Mark, standing by his beat-up car, looking nervous. Their mom, arms crossed, already glaring at me. Laura, standing off to the side, looking uncomfortable. They knew why I was there. I slammed my car door and marched straight up to Jake. Me, you gave Mark my banking info? Jake looked up at me, his face pale. Jake, me, yes or no? Silence. Then Mark stepped in. Mark, look, you're being dramatic. I was just borrowing? Borrowing? You tried to steal from me. You useless piece of Jake's mom. Enough. She stormed down the porch, stepping between me and Mark. Jake's mom. You've done enough damage to this family. I actually laughed. Me? You're defending the guy who just tried to rob me. She turned to Mark. Jake's mom. Did you really try to take money from her account? Mark shrugged. Mark, technically, Jake's mom. Oh, for God's sake, Mark. That was stupid. Mark's face twisted. Mark, you're taking her side? Jake's mom. You got arrested 2 nights ago. You're lucky she didn't press charges. Mark snapped. Mark, why does everyone think I'm the problem? He pointed right at me. Mark, she's the one who turned Jake against his own family. She's the one who ruined our lives. I took a slow, deep breath. Me, Mark, I need you to listen very carefully. I stepped closer. Me, you were the problem long before I showed up. Mark opened his mouth to argue, then shut it. Because for the first time ever, his own family wasn't backing him up. Jake's mom looked exhausted. Laura was staring at the ground. Even Jake looked like he wanted to disappear. Mark saw it too. And he hated it. So he did what Mark always did. He lashed out. Mark, you know what? Fine. I'll go. But don't come crying to me when she takes everything. I rolled my eyes. Me, I don't need to take everything. Jake gave it away, to you. Mark actually flinched. And that's when it happened. Jake stood up. And for the first time, he looked angry. But not at me. At Mark. Jake, you stole from me. Mark froze. Jake, you lied to me. You told me you needed help. You told me I was the only one you could count on. Mark laughed, but it sounded forced. Mark, oh, don't even. You gave me money because you wanted to. Nobody forced you, Jake. You said you would pay it back. That shut him up. I watched as the reality finally hit Jake. He had nothing. No job. No house. No wife. And Mark was the reason. Jake, you were never going to pay me back, were you? Mark shuffled his feet. Mark, bro, come on. Jake, answer Emmy. Silence. Jake let out a hollow laugh. Jake, I ruined my life for you. Mark scoffed. Mark, oh, don't be dramatic. Jake didn't respond. He just shook his head, then turned to me. Jake, do it. I blinked. Me, do what? Jake, press charges. Mark's face drained of color. I wasn't actually planning to press charges. But in that moment, I saw a way out. Me, fine. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. Mark panicked. Mark, wait. Jake didn't even look at him. His own brother. The one he had sacrificed everything for. And now? He was done. Mark was arrested for attempted fraud. He ended up pleading guilty and was sentenced to probation and fines he couldn't pay. Jake finally hit rock bottom. I followed through with the divorce. He had no job, no money, and had to move back in with his parents. Laura got her $5,000 back, but not from Mark. Jake paid it out of his own pocket once he realized what he had done. Jake's mom? She never apologized. She called once, left a voicemail saying, I hope you're happy. I didn't call back. And me? I moved out. Bought a new place. Traveled. And I never looked back. People like Mark? They don't change. People like Jake? They learn too late. And people like me? We walk away. Because in the end, I didn't just help myself. I saved myself.